The wind howled through the broken metal walls of the outpost, carrying with it a blizzard of white death. The snowstorm outside wasn't just cold, it was alive, biting through every crack and crevice. Inside the lonely shelter, one human sat close to a small heater that buzzed weakly in the darkness. His name was Eli Mercer, a maintenance engineer posted on the outer edge of Station Norix 9, a planet so far from Earth that even radio waves took hours to reach. For months he had lived alone, fixing old machines, writing logs that no one ever read, and talking to himself just to remember the sound of a voice. Outside, the world was buried under endless ice. The last supply ship had left 6 weeks ago, and the next one wasn't coming for another month. The silence was heavier than the snow. Eli looked at the storm through the cracked window. The sky was a mix of dark blue and silver flashes, the electric storms that danced over the frozen plains. Suddenly, through the blur of snow and lightning, something moved. A shadow, then another. He blinked. Must be my mind playing tricks again. He muttered, but then, a flash of green light. Eli stood up fast, knocking over his half-frozen coffee. He grabbed his thermal jacket and flashlight. Against every rule, every instinct that told him to stay indoors, he stepped out. The wind screamed instantly, biting at his skin. For a few moments, he saw nothing but snow. Then, a figure collapsed near the generator tower. A body, he ran toward it, boots crunching through the ice. As he got closer, he saw that it wasn't a human. Her skin shimmered faintly, silver blue, glowing slightly beneath the frost. Her hair looked like strands of crystal, and her breathing was shallow, her lips nearly blue. Eli knelt beside her, confused and stunned. What in the hell? The woman opened her eyes, weak but sharp. Her pupils were vertical like a cat's, and her voice came out in a trembling whisper. Please. Warmth. Or I die, Eli didn't think. He picked her up, shocked at how light she was, and carried her inside the outpost. He wrapped her in blankets and turned the heater up to its highest setting. The machine whined in protest, but the small room began to warm as the frost melted from her skin. He noticed strange markings running along her arms, glowing, pulsing faintly like circuits under the skin. She wasn't human. Eli sat beside her, staring. Who are you? She looked at him for a long time before answering. My name does not translate, but you may call me Lyra. Her voice was soft, almost melodic. I was not meant to crash here. Crash? Eli frowned. You mean, you came from a ship? She nodded weakly. Our vessel was damaged by the storm. Others, gone. Her body shivered again. It is too cold. My kind cannot survive such low temperature. She hesitated, then looked directly into his eyes. I need to share body heat, or I will not live till morning. Eli blinked, trying to process her words. The request was strange, and her tone was desperate. He looked toward the heater, which was already flickering. The power core was unstable. If it failed, both of them would freeze anyway. He rubbed his face. You're asking me to. She met his gaze steadily. To share your bed. To keep me alive. For a long moment, there was only the sound of the storm outside. Eli could hear his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know if she was friend or danger, real or part of his lonely imagination. But when she trembled again, clearly dying, something inside him decided. He sighed, muttering under his breath, All right then. Just don't bite me. Lyra gave the faintest smile, a strange, glowing light flickering in her eyes. I would not. Unless you ask. The storm outside roared louder. But inside the outpost, two beings, one human, one alien, faced the longest, coldest night of their lives together. The storm outside raged like a living beast, pounding against the walls of the outpost. The wind screamed through the cracks, and the sound of ice striking metal filled the air. Inside, The weak heater flickered, its orange light barely keeping the cold away. Eli sat on the edge of the narrow bed, staring at the strange woman now wrapped in his only thermal blanket. Lyra's skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight reflecting off a frozen lake. Her breathing was shallow but steady now. He still couldn't believe what he'd done, bringing an alien into his quarters, letting her sleep in his bed. His head spun with questions. Who was she? Why had she crashed here? And why, of all places in the galaxy, did she end up on this frozen wasteland with him? Your world, she whispered suddenly, eyes half open. It hates warmth. Eli turned to her. That's one way to put it. Norix 9 doesn't like anyone. You should have picked a better planet to crash on. Her lips curved faintly into something close to a smile. You think I chose this? He sighed and rubbed his hands together near the heater. Fair point. Minutes passed. The wind outside grew quieter, but the temperature kept dropping. The heater coughed weakly, sputtering light and warmth. Lyra stirred, eyes glowing faintly. The heat is fading, she said softly. I know, Eli muttered. Power cells nearly drained. I was supposed to get replacements 2 weeks ago. Guess the supply ship had other plans. Lyra sat up slowly. The motion seemed to drain what little strength she had left. Your body heat, she whispered again. It can sustain me through the night. Eli hesitated. You mean? We already know, she interrupted gently. We shared a blanket. But I need contact. Skin to skin. My species exchanges warmth through resonance. The body's energy flows between. Her voice was calm, but there was a flicker of fear in her glowing eyes. Without it, I will not survive. He stared at her. The air between them seemed to hum. The storm, the loneliness, the silence, all of it faded for a moment. Only her eyes held him. He swallowed hard. You're serious? She nodded once. Completely. Eli's heart raced. It wasn't just the thought of touch. It was the fact that she wasn't human. Every instinct told him this could be dangerous. But when she shivered again, looking fragile, almost human in her weakness, his doubt melted. Fine, he said finally, voice rough. But if you burn my skin or melt my bones, I'm haunting you. Lyra tilted her head in confusion. Haunting? Never mind, he said quickly. Just move over. He lay beside her awkwardly, the bed barely big enough for one. The moment his arm brushed her skin, warmth surged between them like a spark. Not heat, energy. It tingled, spread, and wrapped around them both. Lyra gasped softly, her body glowing brighter for a heartbeat. Ella's breath caught. What was that? Our life energy connecting, she murmured. You are stronger than I expected. Her voice trembled as if she could feel his pulse through the link. He didn't understand how it worked, but the chill around them began to fade. For the first time in weeks, Eli felt warm. They lay there in silence, their bodies surrounded by faint blue light. Lyra's breathing evened out, and her trembling stopped. Her eyes fluttered open once, meeting his. Thank you, she whispered. I did not wish to die alone. Eli felt something twist in his chest. Yeah. Me neither. Outside, the storm began to weaken, the winds dying down to soft whispers. But inside the outpost, something deeper had begun, a fragile thread of connection between two souls who had no reason to meet, no reason to trust each other. Yet somehow did. As the night grew quieter, Eli drifted toward sleep. The alien woman beside him glowed faintly in the dark, her light reflecting across the room like stars on ice. He thought he heard her whisper one last thing before his eyes closed. You have no idea, human, what you have just done. When Eli opened his eyes, the storm had passed. For the first time in months, silence filled the outpost. Not the dead, hollow silence of loneliness, but something softer, warmer, He blinked against the pale light coming through the frost-covered window. The snow outside glittered like crushed diamonds under the weak rays of a distant sun. For a moment, he thought the last night had been a dream. The alien, the warmth, the glowing skin, all a trick of his tired mind. Then he felt movement beside him. Lyra. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, her back straight, her silver blue hair falling like liquid light down her shoulders. The faint glow that had surrounded her before was gone, replaced by a soft radiance that made her look almost human. Almost. Eli sat up slowly. So, you're real. She turned her head slightly, a small smile ghosting over her lips. Disappointed? He rubbed his eyes. Still deciding. Lyra looked around the cramped room, eyes scanning the flickering lights, the piles of tools and scrap metal, the single heater that had burned itself half dead through the night. You live here alone? Yeah, Eli said. Someone's gotta keep this ice cube running. She tilted her head, studying him. Humans are strange. You live in emptiness, surrounded by silence, and still call it survival. Eli gave a dry laugh. We're good at pretending we're fine. For a moment, they sat in silence, not awkward, but heavy with unspoken things. Then, Lyra's gaze shifted toward the window. The storm destroyed the wreckage of my ship. My people will not find me. Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. Eli frowned. So you're stuck here? On Norix 9? Yes, she touched the faint marks on her arm. They glowed faintly, responding to her pulse. And your atmosphere? It drains me. I can survive, but not for long. Eli felt a strange pull in his chest. Then we'll fix that. Maybe we can boost a distress signal, contact your people. Her eyes flicked up to meet his. Why would you help me? Your kind fears what it does not understand. He gave a lopsided grin. Maybe I'm just too lonely to be afraid anymore. Something in her expression softened. Loneliness, she whispered, as if testing the word. It hurts, doesn't it? Eli looked away. Sometimes it's worse than freezing. A faint shimmer ran across her skin, a pulse of light, almost like emotion. Where I come from, she said quietly, we link our energies. We are never truly alone. But now, she hesitated. When I connected with you last night, I felt something else. Something human. It was not just heat. It was warmth. Eli didn't know what to say. His throat felt tight. Guess I've still got some of that left. Lyra turned fully toward him then, her glowing eyes soft but searching. That link, it changed something. In me. Maybe in you too. Before he could ask what she meant, the floor shook. A deep vibration rolled through the outpost, knocking a few metal tools off the shelf. What the? Eli jumped to his feet. Lyra's expression turned sharp. Not natural. Something moves beneath the ice. He grabbed his scanner and flicked it on. The device blinked wildly, showing heat signatures, several of them, approaching fast. Could be the storm shifting the ground, he said. Though his voice betrayed uncertainty, Lyra stood, eyes glowing brighter now. No, they are alive. Outside, the snow began to stir, ripples spreading like waves across the frozen ground. Then, a massive shape rose from the white, tall, dark, and glistening with frost. Eli's blood ran cold. That's not human tech. Lyra stepped forward, her expression unreadable. It's not from my ship either. The ground shook again, and another shadow moved behind the first, larger, heavier. Eli's hand trembled as he grabbed his plasma cutter. You said your people wouldn't find you. They wouldn't, she said softly, her voice suddenly distant. But others might. Her eyes glowed fiercely now, the marks on her arms blazing to life. And they are not here to save us. The first creature roared, a sound like metal grinding on stone, and the window cracked from the vibration. Eli's heart pounded. Whatever warmth had filled the room that morning vanished in an instant, replaced by the icy dread of what was coming. The first roar shattered the morning calm like a gunshot through glass. Eli stumbled backward as the walls of the outpost groaned from the force of it. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound wasn't just loud, it was felt deep in his bones, vibrating through the metal floor like thunder. Outside, the snow churned violently. Huge shadows moved beneath the icy crust, circling, closing in. Eli grabbed his plasma cutter and shouted over the noise. "What the hell are those things?" Lyra stood near the window, eyes glowing like twin stars, her silver blue hair whipping in the cold air leaking through the cracks. "Predators," she said softly, though there was no fear in her voice, only focus. "Ancient ones. My people called them Scrath. Ice dwellers that feed on heat and life." Eli's heart sank. Perfect. Monsters that eat warmth. Just what we needed. The ice outside cracked sharply, and a massive claw punched through the ground, black and glistening with frost. It looked like living metal, part creature, part machine. The second claw followed, pulling something enormous from the depths. Eli's breath caught. The creature stood twice as tall as the outpost itself, its body a twisted blend of bone and armor. Its mouth opened to reveal rows of jagged, icy teeth that steamed with cold vapor. Lyra's markings began to glow brighter, pulsing with energy. "They sense my energy signature," she said, stepping away from the window. "They think I'm prey." Eli's grip tightened on the cutter. "Then they'll have to get through me first." Lyra looked at him, really looked, as though she didn't understand the meaning of his words. "You would fight for me?" He smirked faintly. "You kept me alive last night. Fair's fair." Before she could answer, the creature lunged. The ground erupted, snow and ice exploding as the beast slammed into the side of the outpost. Metal screamed. The heater fell to the floor with a crash, its orange glow dying instantly. Cold air poured in through a fresh tear in the wall. Eli fired the plasma cutter at the breach, the beam slicing across the creature's arm. The smell of scorched frost filled the air. The monster shrieked and pulled back, howling. Lyra's hands flared with light. She raised one arm, and a wave of shimmering energy burst outward, forming a shield of translucent blue that blocked falling debris. The glow illuminated the small room like liquid fire. Eli stared in disbelief. "You can do that?" Her voice came sharp and focused. "For a short time. It drains me." The outpost trembled again. Another Scrath burst from the ground behind the first. This one was smaller but faster, its eyes like pits of frozen light. It slammed into the outer door, bending it inward. "Time to move," Eli shouted, grabbing Lyra's hand. "There's a maintenance tunnel out back. It leads to the power core." She didn't hesitate. Together they ran, the narrow corridor shaking as metal warped under the impact of the beasts outside. Behind them, the walls split open. Letting in flashes of white and blue dot, they reached the tunnel, a dark frozen passage leading into the ground. Eli kicked open the hatch and motioned her inside. Once they were in, he sealed it shut just as claws scraped against the door. The screeching sound followed them as they climbed down the ladder into the darkness. When they finally reached the bottom, Eli collapsed against the wall, gasping. The air was freezing but still. Lyra's glow dimmed. She leaned against the metal, eyes closing for a moment. "They will not stop. They will follow my energy trail. Then we hide," Eli said between breaths. "We find a way to throw them off." She opened her eyes, studying him. "You are reckless, human. But brave." He gave a tired grin. "Reckless bravery, that's basically our survival plan." Her lips curved slightly, but before she could respond, a soft hum filled the air. The power core chamber ahead flickered to life, casting long shadows across the tunnel. But the shadows moved. Eli froze. "Tell me that's not what I think it is." From the corner of the room, a faint blue glow pulsed, not mechanical, not alien tech. It looked alive. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's not Scrath," she whispered. "It's something else. Something ancient." A soft rhythmic heartbeat echoed through the metal walls, growing louder with every passing second. Eli and Lyra exchanged a single look, part fear, part wonder. Whatever waited ahead, it wasn't done with them yet. The heartbeat grew louder, steady and slow, like a giant sleeping beneath the world. The tunnel lights flickered, throwing their shadows in every direction. Alec tightened his grip on the plasma cutter. His breath misted in the cold air. "Please tell me that's the generator," he muttered. Lyra shook her head, her glowing eyes reflecting the faint blue light ahead. "No machine makes a pulse like that." The sound came from the chamber beyond, the core room, a space Eli had entered hundreds of times. But this time, it felt different. The air carried a charge, like static before lightning. Something ancient had awakened. They stepped inside slowly. The walls, once lined with dull steel, now shimmered faintly, as if frost itself was breathing. In the center of the chamber stood a pillar of crystal, buried halfway in ice, glowing with the same rhythmic pulse. Eli's jaw dropped. "That wasn't here before." "It was always here," Lyra said softly, moving closer. "Your kind built over it without knowing. The Scrath must have been guarding it, or feeding from it." He frowned. "Guarding what exactly?" Lyra extended her hand toward the crystal. "Life energy. A core older than your species, older than mine. A remnant of the first builders." Eli blinked. "You mean like ancient aliens?" Her gaze flicked toward him. "To you, everything older than your history is alien. But yes, something far beyond us both." The light from the crystal pulsed faster, brighter, responding to her presence. Lyra's markings glowed again, tracing along her arms like liquid fire. She looked both terrified and entranced. "It recognizes me," she whispered. "My bloodline was created by them." Eli took a cautious step forward. "Hold up, created? As in, you're engineered?" She nodded, her eyes distant. "We were born of this energy, hybrids between the organic and the luminous. We carry a spark of the ancient core within us." The heartbeat grew louder still, shaking loose flakes of ice from the ceiling. The floor vibrated. "Lyra," Eli said, backing away. "Whatever you're doing, maybe don't." She looked at him, her voice suddenly calm. "It's not me. It's you. The core reacts to human presence, to the warmth of your energy." Eli blinked. "Wait, what? I'm just an engineer." "No," she said quietly. "You are something else. When we shared warmth that night, the core's energy passed through me, into you. We are connected now. The core feels it." Before he could respond, the light exploded, a brilliant blue wave that swept through the chamber. Eli stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. The sound was deafening, like 1,000 heartbeats merging into one. When the glow faded, the ice around the pillar had melted, revealing ancient carvings that shimmered like stars. Lyra stood before it, her hair flowing as if caught in an invisible wind. "This power," she breathed. "It could change everything." Eli coughed, blinking through the haze. "Yeah, it could also kill us." The ground trembled violently. Alarms blared through the outpost, systems detecting seismic instability. The Scrath were roaring above, their cries echoing through the metal like thunder. "They're coming," Eli said, drawn to the core's energy. Lyra's eyes darkened. "Then we must seal it, or they will consume the power and become unstoppable." Ele stared at her. "And how do we do that? Smash it? Throw a blanket over it?" She shook her head. "Only one with the connection can silence it." His heart dropped. "You mean me?" She stepped closer, her hand brushing his chest. You and I share the resonance now. Together we can contain it. The light around them began to flare again, reacting to their proximity. Ayla felt his pulse sync with the hum of the crystal, every heartbeat echoing through the chamber. He met her gaze. And if it doesn't work? She smiled faintly. Then the galaxy will remember two fools who tried. They placed their hands on the glowing surface. The energy surged instantly, flowing through them like liquid fire. Eli gasped. His veins burned with light, his mind filled with whispers not his own. He saw flashes, stars being born, worlds frozen, civilizations rising and falling. Lyra cried out, her voice echoing across the chamber. Focus, Eli. Contain it. He gritted his teeth, forcing his thoughts toward her, toward the warmth of that night, the fragile bond they'd formed. The light began to dim, shrinking inward, pulsing slower and slower. Until finally, the heartbeat faded. The chamber went still. Only silence remained. Eli slumped to his knees, exhausted. Lyra knelt beside him, her glow fading but her eyes alive with awe. It worked, she whispered. The core sleeps again. He gave a shaky laugh. Next time, I'm staying in bed. But their relief was short-lived. A metallic screech echoed from above, and then the roof cracked. A Scrath claw punched through the ceiling, dragging its way down. Lyra's eyes widened. They found us. Eli stood, his pulse still glowing faintly with the crystal's light. Then let's show them what they woke up. The first claw tore through the ceiling like a blade through fabric. Shards of ice rained down, sparkling in the dim blue light of the chamber. The Scrath's roar shook the tunnel walls. An unholy mix of metal and beast. Isla stumbled backward, instinctively raising the plasma cutter. Its beam looked pitiful compared to the monstrous creature above. Its body a mass of living armor. Its eyes like frozen suns. Lyra. He shouted. Any brilliant alien plan? Lyra's skin shimmered as faint threads of blue energy flickered under her flesh. Yes, she said calmly. But you won't like it. Try me. Before she could answer, the Scrath lunged. Its claws ripped through the chamber floor, narrowly missing Eli. The shockwave threw him against the wall. He hit hard, pain lancing through his ribs. Lyra raised both hands, and a surge of energy burst outward, forming a radiant barrier that met the creature's strike. The impact sent cracks of light across the shield. Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice trembling under the strain. I can't hold it for long. Eli forced himself up, clutching the plasma cutter. Then we end this fast. He ran toward the core's control panel, fingers flying over the cracked screen. There's a containment field system tied to the power core. I can overload it. Maybe collapse this whole tunnel. That will bury us. Lyra shouted. Yeah, well, the alternative's getting eaten. The Scrath roared again, driving its claws against the barrier. Lyra cried out, the glow around her dimming. Her body shook. The alien marks across her skin pulsed violently, flickering like dying embers. Eli turned. Lyra! She fell to one knee, the shield fracturing. It's energy. Drains mine. It's feeding through me. Something inside Eli snapped. The memory of her trembling form in the snow, the warmth of her voice whispering, "Don't let me die," came flooding back. Without thinking, he sprinted toward her. Eli, stop. She warned. He didn't. He grabbed her hand. The instant their skin touched, a blinding light erupted around them both, blue and white flames spiraling upward. The energy core reacted again, pulsing in rhythm with their joined heartbeats. Lyra gasped, her voice echoing in his mind. The link, it's amplifying. I can feel it too. He shouted over the roar of energy. Let's use it. Together, they turned toward the Scrath. The beast hesitated for the first time, its glowing eyes narrowing as it sensed the power building before it. Lyra's voice steadied. Focus with me, Eli. Direct the energy outward. Let the core's power flow through us. He closed his eyes, heart pounding. The warmth that had once saved her now surged between them like wildfire. Light streamed from their joined hands, wrapping them both in a cocoon of radiant power. The Scrath roared and struck, but the impact shattered into nothing. The energy exploded outward, a wave of blinding brilliance that filled the chamber. The beast screamed as light engulfed it, its icy armor melting, its form collapsing into vapor. The sound faded. When Eli opened his eyes, the creature was gone, reduced to glowing fragments that floated like snowflakes. Before vanishing into the air, he looked at Lyra. She was still standing, breathing hard, her skin glowing faintly. "You did it," he whispered. She shook her head, a weak smile forming. "We did it." The ground rumbled again, but this time softer, like the planet itself sighing in relief. The blue light of the core dimmed, fading into a calm pulse once more. Eli slumped to the floor, laughing breathlessly. "Remind me never to touch alien energy again." Lyra sat beside him, her gaze drifting toward the ceiling. "The Scrath are gone, but others will come. They will sense the disturbance." He frowned. "Others?" "My people," she said quietly. "And not all of them are merciful." Eli stared at her, heart still racing. "You're saying we just turned out a galactic beacon?" She met his eyes, solemn and calm. "Yes, and they will come looking for the core. Or for us." Silence filled the chamber. The only sound was their breathing, and the faint hum of the ancient heart beneath them. Eli exhaled slowly. "Then I guess we'd better be ready for company." Lyra's faint smile returned. "You would stand against my kind?" He gave her a tired grin. "I already stood against monsters for you. How bad could your people be?" Her gaze softened. "You may find out sooner than you wish, human." The light flickered again, faint, distant, but unmistakable. Above them, through layers of ice and stone, something was descending from the sky. Eli's chest tightened. "Tell me that's not another storm." Lyra shook her head, her eyes glowing with eerie certainty. "No, Eli, that is a ship." The ground trembled again, but this time it wasn't the Scrath. The sound was deeper, rhythmic, the low, humming thunder of an approaching ship. Dust and frost fell from the ceiling as the vibration grew stronger. Eli and Lyra stared upward, their faces bathed in the faint blue light of the still-beating core. "They're here," Lyra said softly, her voice unreadable, a mixture of awe and fear. Eli stood slowly, gripping his plasma cutter, even though he knew it wouldn't matter against whatever was coming. "Your people?" "Yes," she hesitated, her glowing eyes flicking toward him. "But not the ones I hoped for." Through the fractured ceiling, a shaft of light cut down from the stormy sky. The snow above parted like water as a colossal ship descended, black, sleek and silent except for the whisper of its engines. The hull shimmered with the same crystalline patterns that marked Lyra's skin. Eli swallowed hard. "So, we're not hiding from monsters anymore. Now it's gods." Lyra didn't smile. "They call themselves the Ascendants. To them, anything lesser is expendable." The ship's light shifted, scanning the outpost. A mechanical voice, clear and cold, echoed through the air. "Energy anomaly detected. Origin hybrid signature. Termination authorized." Eli's blood ran cold. Did it just say termination? Lyra stepped forward, her body glowing brighter. "They think I'm a traitor." "The crash was no accident, Eli. They sent me here to die, to bury me with the old power I was never meant to find." Eli looked at her in disbelief. "You mean they set you up?" She nodded, her expression bitter. "I was born different. Too connected to the core. They feared I might awaken it. As I just did." Before he could respond, a beam of light struck the ground nearby, melting through metal like butter. The blast sent both of them tumbling backward. Lyra shouted, "Run!" They darted through the broken tunnel as drones poured from the descending ship, small, insect-like machines with glowing blue eyes and razor-edged limbs. Energy bolts sliced through the dark, exploding against the walls. Eli fired his plasma cutter wildly, sparks flying. "Remind me to uninstall the part of my brain that follows aliens into death traps." Lyra raised her hands, creating a shimmering shield that deflected the next blast. "Stay close." They burst into the main corridor, the cold air slapping their faces. The entire outpost shook as the ship's engines thundered above. Lyra's energy flickered weakly. The battle with the Scrath had drained her more than she'd admitted. "Lyra," Eli gasped, grabbing her arm. "You can't keep using your power." She looked at him with a strange, calm smile. "I'm not using it. I'm giving it." Before he could ask what she meant, she pressed her glowing hand to his chest. A surge of warmth flooded through him, the same warmth he'd felt that first night. His vision blurred with blue light, and suddenly he felt stronger. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I shared what remains of my link. You can control the core now." "Like I did." Eli's heart pounded. "You mean we can control it?" She shook her head. "No, it has to be you. My kind can't wield its power without corruption. But a human. Your warmth tempers it." Above, the drones regrouped, charging their weapons. Eli clenched his fists, and the chamber walls pulsed in response. The energy from the core flowed through him like fire, bending to his will. The next beam that struck them didn't hit. It disintegrated mid-air, scattering into harmless motes of light. Eli stared at his own hands in disbelief. "Holy hell." Lyra smiled faintly. "Now you understand." The drones advanced again, but this time Eli didn't back away. He raised his hand, and the floor itself rippled. A shockwave of blue energy blasted outward, vaporizing the machines in a burst of light. The entire outpost shook, but held. Silence followed. Only the hum of the core remained. Lyra swayed, barely standing. Eli rushed to catch her as she stumbled. "Hey, stay with me." Her eyes were dimming now, the glow fading fast. "The energy. It's too much. I gave you more than I should have." He shook his head. "No, you're not leaving me, not after everything." Her hand brushed his cheek gently. "Eli Mercer, you were meant to be alone so you would understand the value of warmth. You gave it to me. And now to the stars." Her body shimmered, breaking into faint strands of light that floated upward like glowing snow. "Lyra!" he cried, but his voice was lost to the silence. Outside, the ship rose into the storm, retreating from the power that now pulsed beneath the ice. The core had awakened, but it was no longer alien. It beat in rhythm with one human heart. Eli stood there, alone again, but this time, the loneliness didn't feel cold. He looked out through the cracked wall at the endless white horizon. Above, the sky burned faintly blue, as if her light still lingered there, watching. He smiled sadly. "Guess I'll keep the bed warm, Lyra, just in case you ever find your way back." The wind carried his words away, whispering them across the frozen plains of No Rix-9. And somewhere in the distant stars, something whispered back, "The end."